The King's Avatar, Chapter 1464 Bomb Disposal Specialist, Audio Source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1464, Bomb Disposal Specialist. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Scaredy Cat Leo. Steamed Bun sternly reprimanded Huang Shaoshan in the chat. Huang Shaoshan was pissed. There was no way anyone would ever agree to a 1v1 duel in the middle of a team battle, right? So why was this guy so seriously insisting on this? That brimming hostility, it was unbearable. Downwind sword slash. The swift sword light well represented Huang Shaoshan's current mood. He would never lose his cool over the mockery of trash talk. But as it happened, the one who spewed trash talk right now was the optimal attack target, so without any pressure, he could use his official role to satisfy his personal interests. His mood was beautifully expressed, and the timing, angle, and speed of this downwind sword slash reached the peak, completely flawless. Hit. No one could have dodged or blocked this kind of attack. The blade of light scattered fresh blood outward. Steamed Bun Invasion was sent pathetically tumbling onto the ground. But with this, he was really rolling quite far. Not bad, kid. Huang Shaoshan sent in the chat. Pro players were very sensitive to distance, because that was how they chose the most suitable skill to use at any given moment. Steamed Bun seemed to be helplessly rolling along the ground as a result of the ferocity of the downwind sword slash. But in reality, he was using the momentum of this strike to put some distance between himself and his attacker. The posture was a bit ugly, but he achieved the goal he wanted. This downwind sword slash on its own was indeed executed impeccably. But a good offensive was like a banquet, composed of many different dishes. It couldn't rely on just one. Steamed Bun Invasion used this downwind sword slash to increase the distance. If the close-range Blade Master wanted to close in again, then the brawler could use mid-range techniques to counter him. From this, it could be seen that even though this downwind sword slash was flawless, it couldn't become a banquet. The attack landed, but it didn't consider the follow-up. In the end, had Huang Shaoshan been too impulsive? This downwind sword slash, displaying Huang Shaoshan's annoyance, would lead people to think this way. But those who thought this way were overlooking the fact that this was a team battle, not individual. Huang Shaoshan wasn't the only cook for this banquet. By itself, this downwind sword slash might have left an opening, but in a team battle, there were teammates that could cover this opening. Huang Shaoshan used this skill. Not because he had lost his judgment in a fit of anger, but because this was a team battle, and he trusted that there were enough people next to him that could cover this opening. Curse. Bullis. When Huang Shaoshan's Blade Master could no longer attack because of the distance, the long-range attackers Yu Wenzu and Zheng Xuan immediately gave firepower support. After the downwind sword slash, the two skills of the two characters immediately followed, and there was even cooperation between them as well. Steamed Bun's reaction speed and control was good, but the attacks of these two characters cut off all space he had to dodge. The curses of a warlock and the firepower of a spitfire. Of the two skills, he would have to choose one to be hit by in the end. Steamed Bun was very decisive, and he twisted his body toward the bullets that Bullet Rain fired toward him. Under typical circumstances, players would want to choose to take the skill that damaged him less, but the problem was that the attacks from these two classes both had more painful effects than just damage. Swaxar had used a binding curse. It wouldn't cause any damage at all, but it would imprison the target character. What about Bullet Rain? He had fired freezing bullets, which carried the freeze effect. It only had a certain chance of activating, but all of the gunner subclasses, aside from launchers, could attack with consecutive, continuous shots. The Spitfire's freezing bullet could be considered a buff, and the action to use it was changing the magazine. After changing the magazine, normal fired bullets would become freezing bullets. Under the Spitfire classing skill ammunition expansion, this magazine could hold as many as 20 freezing bullets. If one bullet had a certain probability of causing a freeze, with 20 bullets, it would be very difficult to avoid every single one. When all bullets hit, it was fairly common to become entirely frozen. Right now, Steamed Bun Invasion forcefully headed in this direction, and was swiftly hit by a series of bullets. Freeze took effect, and his movements instantly slowed down. But for now, he hadn't been completely frozen. This was also the reason to choose this direction instead of going towards Swaxar's binding curse. Moving more slowly was always a bit better than being unable to move at all. But this was such a shallow reasoning, so of course Blue Rain had thought of it as well. When Yu Wenzu and Zheng Xuan launched their pincer attack, they had already calculated that Steamed Bun Invasion would choose to head toward the area covered by the freezing bullets. Sword light flashed. When Troubling Rain used his downwind sword slash, Lu Hanwen's flowing cloud was rushing forward to cooperate. The light of his blade ultimately fell upon the area where Bullet Rain's bullets pointed. Blue Rain's offensive wasn't conducted by one person, it was a combination of 4 people landing upon Steamed Bun Invasion. But while Blue Rain had 4 players, Happy had more than just Steamed Bun Invasion as well. Even while focusing on Steamed Bun Invasion, Yu Wenzu hadn't overlooked Happy's other 4 players, either. The fire from Sumo Chung's Dancing Rain could cover the whole map, and she immediately began giving support. And her judgment overlapped with Blue Rain's actions very well. The cannon fire was already covering the position toward which Flowing Cloud was charging. What an incredibly accurate prediction. A prediction of Blue Rain's coordination as a team, a prediction of the awareness of Blue Rain's players. Sumo Chung's attack landed at the same time as Lu Hanwen's attack, but Sumo Chung's target was precisely Lu Hanwen's flowing cloud. Boom. The explosion sent waves of energy rippling outward, and that sword light from flowing cloud wavered. All of this happened so quickly, just in the span of a few seconds, so precisely that it seemed as though everyone had rehearsed it beforehand. Flowing Cloud arrived, the cannon fire arrived, there was no chance at all for Lu Hanwen to dodge. An opening. Flowing Cloud's attack was destroyed by Dancing Rain, and Steamed Bun Invasion immediately had an opening before him. But Yu Wenzu, who was cool-headedly paying attention to the entire field, had noticed Dancing Rain's attack and anticipated that Flowing Cloud's attack would be broken. So, Swaxar cast another spell, covering this opening in advance. Claws of Darkness. From the void, black claws gleaming with demonic power extended forth, snatching towards Steamed Bun Invasion. This attack was also a predictive attack, a prediction of the opponent's movements. But, unfortunately, this was Steamed Bun that Yu Wenzu was trying to predict. The claws of darkness snatched downward, the flowers of the devil were blooming, but where was Steamed Bun Invasion? With a roll, Steamed Bun Invasion had actually rolled back to where he was before. The so-called opening was that, using the cover from Dancing Rain's fire, he could continue in the same direction to break free from Blue Rain's attacking him. But Steamed Bun didn't head in that direction, and instead went back toward the position where he had been surrounded and trapped. Had he also predicted Swaxar's attack against him? WuxaWorldAudio.com. Those who like to overthink situations would of course consider this situation. But even those who were familiar with Steamed Bun couldn't determine how he had had that Xing Eureka moment. Maybe that was just convenient for him. Quote, in Happy's player area, those who weren't on stage speculated. But even though this was an unexpected movement, aside from avoiding this clause of darkness from Swaxar, there wasn't anything particularly shing about this. The freeze effect on Steamed Bun Invasion's body hadn't worn off yet. If he was hit by another attack with a freeze effect, the chances of him becoming completely frozen would greatly increase. Bullet Rain hadn't finished firing his 20 freezing bullets yet, and with Steamed Bun Invasion returning to his former position, it was very easy for Zheng Xuan to fire at him. The freezing bullets immediately chased him. He just acted a bit unexpectedly. Even Yu Wenzhou thought this way. Someone acting unexpectedly didn't automatically guarantee that they could win the initiative. If a sword came down on an opponent and that opponent didn't dodge at all, that would also be very unexpected, but could that cleaved opponent really be said to have the advantage? Steamed Bun Invasion's action, aside from dodging the claws of darkness, was truly a disastrous movement. But the bullets that Bullet Rain fired were actually completely blocked in mid-air. Prediction. Again, prediction. And this time, the one who made an accurate prediction was Yi Shu. The myriad manifestations umbrella blocked all of the freezing bullets, and suddenly, a large path was opened before Steamed Bun's eyes. This time, Steamed Bun didn't trip up, and he immediately controlled Steamed Bun Invasion to charge onto this path. The still half-frozen Steamed Bun Invasion seemed to be moving in slow motion, and it was very amusing to watch. But the cover of his teammates allowed him to resolutely walk forward. Lord Grimm helped block the attacks from Bullet Rain, while Suma Chung's Dancing Rain blasted a firing line next to him, causing a great deal of trouble for the two Blade Masters controlled by Huang Shaoshan and Lu Hanwen if they wanted to catch up and attack. A suicidal trip, ultimately inviting a turnaround. Why? Yu Wenzhou's gaze landed upon Lord Grimm. He had never understood why Happy wanted to use Steamed Buns, such an unreliable player, for such a crucial match, but now, he was beginning to see why. The reason was very simple, it was all because of Yi Shu's presence. Even though he also had no way of predicting Steamed Bun's actions, his experience and awareness allowed him to maximally cover Steamed Bun's openings. This was perhaps a way of turning the rotten into the miraculous, or perhaps he was only barely able to control the situation. But this ticking time bomb that was Steamed Bun, Happy had their bomb disposal expert, but on Blue Rain's side, which of them could take care of the danger that Steamed Bun posed at any moment? Yi Shu's all-class experience and awareness was not something that everyone had. Steamed Bun was a player that often exposed vulnerabilities, but Happy purposely took advantage of this fact. Under the unpredictable rhythm of battle that this guy led, which side would ultimately take control? In the Yu Wenzhou's mind, behind Steamed Bun Invasion appeared, with unparalleled clarity, the figures of Lord Grimm and Yi Shu. Would they once again be beaten at their own game? End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1465. Attack the Core. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1465. Attack the Core. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. During the regular season, Blue Rain was one of the few teams that defeated Happy twice in the team round. No, more accurately, it was 3 times. During their last match in the playoffs, even though Blue Rain had lost in the end, they had defeated Happy in the team round. 3 victories against Happy. Logically, they should be relatively experienced in dealing with them. But, as Blue Rain's commander, Yu Wenzhou didn't have that feeling at all. 2 meetings in the regular season, and then their last meeting during the playoffs. 3 battles against Happy, and they had all felt different. This wasn't just because of Happy's adjustments in terms of players and tactics. Over the course of these 3 battles, what was even more clear to see was Happy's growth. Ever since entering the pro scene, Happy's players were recklessly absorbing experience and growing up at a crazy rate. Every year brought new teams, and these new teams, after entering the high-end refinery that was the pro scene, all demonstrated clear improvement. But Happy was the only one that had reached such heights so fast. Most people looked at Yi Xiu, Su Mucheng, and Fang Rui. They felt that because Happy had 3 all-star level players, they weren't a typical new team, and that was why they could have such a strong performance. But was that the only reason? Consider Happy's 3 all-star level players. Yi Xiu had left the pro scene for a year and a half and was now playing a new unspecialized class. Su Mucheng had left the pro scene for a year. Fang Rui had been standing at the pinnacle of thieves before switching classes. These 3 people all had their own problems. In fact, it could be said that they were among Happy's weaknesses. For Happy to become such an unusual new team, it definitely wasn't only because of the presence of these 3 all-star level players. Improvement. This was the key word shared by Happy and all other new teams. And the biggest difference between Happy and these other new teams was that Happy was able to completely turn their improvement into capability. As long as the players became stronger, the team's capabilities would increase, right? This logic seemed obvious. But in reality, even though this logic worked in 1v1s, in team battles, this statement wasn't so certain. A team need cooperation, need understanding, need mutual adaptation. When a new team's players began to grow, quickly or slowly, could the team stay whole and adjust appropriately to this kind of growth? This wasn't a simple matter. The biggest difference between Happy and the others was that Happy achieved this point very well. They were adjusting non-stop in response to the improvements made by the individual players. In the end, it was still because of that guy, the one at Happy's helm, Yi Xiu. He accurately grasped the fabric of Happy, and he let all the teams that only faced Happy once in the span of months feel the leaping growth of their battle ability. They were able to completely take advantage of that exceptional growth that characterized new teams. And when they stood on the battlefield, countless scenes from Happy's battles flashed through Yu Wenzu's mind. The immature Happy had many weaknesses, but when opponents tried to charge toward Happy's so-called weaknesses, how many teams were actually able to use that to crush Happy? Happy had areas where they had yet to mature. They had areas where they weren't good enough. But Happy themselves knew all of this, clearer than their opponents did, and so they had ample preparations to counter those who tried to attack their weak areas. It all came back to Yi Xiu. In the Yu Wenzu's mind, the image of Yi Xiu and Lord Grimm continued to sharpen, and what he covered was no longer simply steamed bun and steamed bun invasion, it was the entirety of Happy. If we don't defeat this guy, we have no way of truly defeating Happy. Those so-called breakthrough points, weaknesses, could all turn into reversals because of the presence of one person. To defeat Happy, Yu Wenzu discovered that what he had to do was so simple, yet not at all. Defeat Yi Xiu. Yes, that was all. Beat Yi Xiu, and you can beat Happy. This goal simply sounded like nonsense. Because this sentence could be applied to any team. Beat Wang Jiexe, and you can beat Tiny Herb. Beat Josekai, and you can beat Samsara. Beat Han Wen King, and you can beat Tyranny. Every team had its core, and if the core was defeated, the chances of victory would greatly increase. But a core was a core because it was the most difficult person to beat in the entire team. To beat them, you would have to pay an unusual price. Just like that Happy vs Tiny Herb match where Happy forcefully took down Wang Jiexe, trading 2 for 1. And in the end, their plan worked, and they beat Tiny Herb. The battle had been thrilling, but Yu Wenzu didn't agree with the reliability of that method. In that battle, it could be said that they won because they defeated Huang Jiexi, but it would be better to say that by defeating Huang Jiexi, they destroyed the confidence of the rest of the Tiny Herb players. That was the main reason why Tiny Herb had lost. If the other players hadn't wavered because of this, the fact was that the core player had traded themselves for two players and achieved the advantage of numbers. Many teams probably wouldn't find that a difficult trade at all. Happy targeted Huang Jiexi not for a strategic victory, but a psychological victory. That was why they could strive for this without worrying about the cost. And this had been possible because of the problem with Tiny Herb itself. If it had been Samsara, and they'd tried to trade two players for Josekai, or if it had been Tyranny, 2 for Han Wen King, the result likely would not have been the same. Then right now, against Happy, against Yishu, could they use this kind of method? In Blue Rain's team channel, the captain's directions suddenly appeared: attack Yishu. They could. After reflection, this was the conclusion that Yu Wenzu ultimately drew. To Tiny Herb, Huang Jiexi was the backbone of their spirit. To Happy, Yishu was the backbone of their strategy. In those scenes from Happy's battles that had flashed through his mind, Yishu was like a foundational rock. Wherever he was needed was wherever he was moved. Without his support, Team Happy wouldn't be able to tie together into a whole. And on this battlefield, the ticking time bomb that was Steamed Bun Invasion would lose his bomb disposal expert. Defeat Yishu. That would destroy the structure of Happy's strategy, and without that linchpin, Happy would show many openings. At that time, it was likely that no one would be able to patch them up well enough. Yu Wenzu gave this direction, and Blue Rain immediately began to carry it out. Troubling Rain, Flowing Cloud, one fast blade and one slow, suddenly flung off Steamed Bun Invasion and pointed toward Lord Grimm. Damn! Steamed Bun immediately started mocking them. You can't even take care of me and you still want to take care of our boss. Steamed Bun's words were only because he was still alive. To be honest, this powerful offense that Blue Rain had launched against him had rendered him quite helpless. Little guys, move aside, Huang Shaoshan rudely replied. His lightsaber Ice Rain had already pierced toward Lord Grimm's heart. Whoosh whoosh, Lord Grimm's silhouette flashed like a ghost, and suddenly he had already moved to Troubling Rain's side. Ice Rain hit air, but Troubling Rain immediately turned, and the slightly slower Flowing Cloud bolstered the attack as he continued to stab toward Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm tried to move again, but Swaksar's curses and Bullet Rain's firepower together sealed his paths of retreat. Lord Grimm, without anywhere to run, instantly became a crowd of shadows. Shadow clone technique. Lord Grimm left behind a fake body while his real body was taken away. The first phase of Blue Rain's offensive ultimately missed, but the whole team adjusted its offensive very quickly and continued to attack. Happy's scattered formation had yet to restabilize. Yu Wenzu continued to carefully watch the whole situation. When they began focusing all their attack on Yishu's Lord Grimm, how would Happy adjust? Yu Wenzu didn't dare let down his guard. Especially since they were attacking Yishu, it would be very easy for this guy to lead him into a trap. He had to pay careful attention to the development of the battle as a whole. Yu Wenzu's gaze passed over Happy's players, one by one. WushOurWorldAudio.com. Someone's missing. Yu Wenzu suddenly discovered. Where's Fang Rui? Yu Wenzu asked in the chat. Circling around, said Zheng Xuan. Yu Wenzu let out a breath. He'd missed one character, but fortunately, he had his teammates. Fang Rui circling around, that was almost certainly to take advantage of the wind. The force of the wind didn't affect a warlock's curses or a few other spells, but fire-type magic and a chi master's chi could be strengthened by the wind's momentum. Knowing the opponent's intent, naturally he could counter it. But Blue Rain didn't do anything for now, because if they defended too early, then Fang Rui would withdraw his plan. Might as well use the opponent's move against him, let him circle around, wait for him to try and attack before discovering that he was thwarted. Blue Rain continued to chase Lord Grimm, until their heads hurt. Lord Grimm's movement was simply too fast. It was like he was leading them on a train ride. From afar, Suma Chung's dancing rain showered him in cannon fire. But all of this was within Yu Wenzu's expectations. Swaksar's skills now were like a guiding beacon. Under his adjustments, Blue Rain's chase was not impatient. The two Blade Masters, Troubling Rain and Flowing Cloud, didn't attack hand in hand. Troubling Rain chased more tightly, while Flowing Cloud lagged slightly behind. Zheng Xuan and Yu Wenzu's characters were still in the wind zone, moving parallel, and their healer was also closely keeping up with the team's rhythm. Lord Grimm hadn't been chased down, but inadvertently, Fang Rui's plot to circle around was already interrupted. Blue Rain, in chasing Lord Grimm, had changed their position drastically, so their back was no longer their back. Where Fang Rui's Boundless Sea entered the wind zone, he was now at a crosswind with Blue Rain's players, so that neither side had the advantage. Fang Rui controlled Boundless Sea to move, because he still wanted to pull out the angle to get the wind advantage, but he ended up running this circle in vain. In the wind zone, Happy's few players were helping Yi Xiu as much as they could. It was about time. Yu Wenzu coldly assessed the situation. Another message appeared in the team chat. 1. Yi Xiu, cut steamed bun. The offensive changed again. Steamed bun. Blue Rain's target was still steamed bun. But one player was left next to Yi Xiu's Lord Grimm. Troubling Rain, Huang Shaoshan. The 1 inch referred to Box 1. Team Blue Rain was using Huang Shaoshan to execute Box 1 against Yi Xiu. Because Yi Xiu was the core of Happy's strategy, then Box 1 was the perfect strategy to use. But Yi Xiu was a demon, and if they tried to do it directly, there was probably no one who would be able to directly restrict him. And so Blue Rain first used a powerful all-around attack, relying on their numbers to advantage. They let Fang Rui go so that Happy's side over here would be even weaker, like luring the tiger off the mountain. And when the time was right, Huang Shaoshan would hold down Yi Xiu, and the others would attack Steamed Bun. This time, if Yi Xiu wanted to defuse the bomb, it wouldn't be so easy. End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1466, Qi in the Wind. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1466, Qi in the Wind. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Hey, what was that for? Steamed Bun cried out in the chat. Even though he wasn't as chatty as Huang Shaoshan, he was still far more talkative than most players. Rookies, in particular, would almost always play careful, completely focused on their playing. There were truly very few rookies who trash-talked during a match. Not only was Steamed Bun talkative, his words were good at catching the attention of other people. It was a normal many against few situation, yet he was scolding the enemies as if they were in the wrong. Blue Rain's sudden change in targets cut off Steamed Bun's connection with Yi Xiu and angered him. It was as if Blue Rain had offended the heavens, and he need to give them justice. What are you guys thinking? Steamed Bun shouted. No one in Blue Rain answered back. The three characters focused on Steamed Bun. However, for this Box 1 strategy to work, the conflict between Yi Xiu and Huang Shaoshan was the key point. Can you get past me? Huang Shaoshan wasn't idle. He quickly joined the chat. Although steamed bun was a strange one, he couldn't outshine Huang Shaoshan. The disparity in word count was too big. Annoying, Yishu replied back with a single word. Lord Grimm twisted his body in an attempt to get past Huang Shaoshan. Huang Shaoshan reacted extremely fast. Troubling Rain turned around and lifted his sword, Headwind Strike. Headwind Strike was originally a circular attack, but under Huang Shaoshan's control, it spun around into a flat ellipse, covering quite a bit of horizontal distance. Jump back. Not only did Lord Grimm fail to get past Troubling Rain, he was forced back a step. Boom boom boom. Artillery fire descended. Su Mucheng didn't support Steamed Buns, who was in a more dangerous situation. Instead, she prioritized Troubling Rain. 2v1, 3v1. Were they planning on making a trade? Or did Su Mucheng want to help Yishu break free from Huang Shaoshan? The viewers weren't sure, not even Pan Lin or Li Yibo dared to make any conclusions. The fight between the two teams was changing at a rapid pace. What's more, Blue Rain was playing abnormally aggressive today, unlike their usual defensive counter-attack style. Could it be because of Happy's Bao Rangxing? Perhaps it's easier to take the initiative by playing aggressive. Pan Lin and Li Yibo could only guess. The battle was developing on two ends. At this moment, the camera switched over to a character that hadn't yet entered the fray. Boundless Sea. Fang Rui's Boundless Sea. He had tried to circle around to Blue Rain's rear, but Blue Rain noticed him and prevented it from happening. Fang Rui wasn't willing to let the matter go and continued to try different angles. It was as if he had to use the gale to attack Blue Rain no matter what. Fang Rui is gambling a bit, Pan Lin said, seeing Boundless Sea stubbornly try to find a way in. Li Yibo didn't say anything. It was a crucial match. Fang Rui was an incredibly experienced and crafty player. Would he really make a gamble? He probably has something else in mind. Li Yibo carefully observed Fang Rui's movements. Even Li Yibo was suspicious. How could Yuan Zhu not be either? The situation on one side of the battle was clear. Yishu was being box-one-ed by Huang Shaoshan, while Su Mucheng was helping him break free. Huang Shaoshan could be considered as being in a 1v2, so it looked like a box-2. However, Huang Shaoshan's Troubling Rain was a Blade Master, a melee class. Dancing Rain was long-ranged, so she could fire from afar. She was taking the initiative to attack him, not Troubling Rain restricting her movements. The box-2 was weak. If Su Mucheng wanted to leave, she could leave. Huang Shaoshan had no control over her. He could only stop Yishu, and that was his goal. It was a 1v2 though, and he was facing the former best partners. The difficulty of doing so didn't need to be said. What Huang Shaoshan was doing reminded people of the previous Blue Rain vs Happy match. In that team competition, Blue Rain's former captain, Wei Chen, had accomplished a 1v2, no. He stalled Blue Rain's Yu Wenzhou and Lu Hanwen by himself. In the end, Wei Chen sacrificed his character to achieve these goals, but what about Huang Shaoshan? Huang Shaoshan was different because he wasn't focused on dragging down both players, but rather only Yishu's Lord Grimm. As long as Dancing Rain's attacks didn't affect his end goal, he wouldn't care. He was very focused. He didn't care if he was being harassed by Su Mucheng. Yu Wenzhou was overjoyed at this turn of events. He hadn't expected the box one to last this long, because after shifting their focus onto Steamed Bun Invasion, Happy's other characters were free to do what they wanted. It would be easy for Happy to break Huang Shaoshan's box one. That was the reality. Su Mucheng decided to prioritize breaking the box one. But who would have thought that Huang Shaoshan would be so tenacious? This sort of opportunity couldn't be wasted. The rest of Blue Rain understood this and attacked Steamed Bun Invasion even more fiercely. Steamed Bun didn't even have time to type into the chat. Steamed Bun Invasion was beaten up left and right. Although was in a sorry state, he wasn't completely trapped. How troublesome. Blue Rain looked towards Happy's other character, Little Cold Hands, and Wenyi's Little Cold Hands. While they were busy with Steamed Bun, Happy's healer was providing Steamed Bun with as much support as possible. No one was disturbing him, and he was only focused on a single target. Under these circumstances, and Wenyi, who had exceptional timing, had God-level healing. What's more, his character Little Cold Hands had the highest heal crit in the game, making it even harder for Steamed Bun Invasion to die. Blue Rain had no choice but to make some adjustments. Under Yu Wenzu's orders, Zheng Xuan took care of Little Cold Hands. Although both were long-range classes, Spitfires were faster than clerics. No one else was more suitable than him to suppress the healer. But when Zheng Xuan fired at Little Cold Hands, he discovered that his bullet rain's attack range wasn't quite enough. With no other choice, Zheng Xuan could only have Bullet Rain move forward. Little Cold Hands' healing need to be suppressed. If not, their DPS would be drastically reduced, and Huang Shaoshan was dealing with a lot of pressure. His box 1 could be broken at any moment, so they need to hurry. But when Bullet Rain moved forward, Little Cold Hands moved back. And Wenyi was aware of the enemy side's intentions. Thus, he moved back to get out of Zheng Xuan's attack range. Zheng Xuan could only continue to speed up Bullet Rain's pursuit. After Yu Wenzu noticed the change, he suddenly felt a bad premonition. He hastily turned his head back. Sky-piercing strike. Fang Rui's Boundless Sea finally made his move. Amidst the strong winds, the Qi looked hazy. However, its speed was extremely fast. It seemed to meld together with the wind, and in an instant, Bullet Rain was swallowed up by the Qi. Bullet Rain was sent flying as if he had been blown away. Yu Wenzu wanted to warn him, but he was too late. He hadn't been ignoring Fang Rui. It was just that with his original position, Fang Rui was temporarily no threat. He had planned on doing the same as before. He would pretend to ignore him and then neutralize whatever his intentions were at the last moment. As a result, Fang Rui had always seemed invisible. But when Yi suddenly tilted the scales, Little Cold Hands' retreat backwards made Zheng Xuan instinctively chase after him. It wasn't that Fang Rui had moved Boundless Sea into the correct position, but rather, Bullet Rain had gifted himself to the enemy. All of this had taken only a split second, and all of it was because of An Wenyi's bait. Even Yu Wenzu reacted to it too late. Bullet Rain was blasted away by the sky-piercing cannon. Along with the momentum of the wind, the blow-away effect was even stronger. Bullet Rain was directly thrown outside of the wind zone. WuxaWorldAudio.com. And when he had moved to pursue Little Cold Hands, he had stopped attacking Steamed Bun Invasion. An opening immediately appeared in Blue Rain's assault on Steamed Bun Invasion as a result of the sudden interruption. Steamed Bun Invasion immediately rolled and escaped through the opening. Lu Hanwen's Flowing Cloud attacked with his sword, but Steamed Bun Invasion responded with a brick. Take this brick. This guy was still charting. Who knew if it was because of his early contact with Huang Shaoshan, but Steamed Bun liked to call out his moves too. He couldn't speak in the chat, so his only choice was the chat. It had always annoyed him. The "take this brick" had been sudden, but Lu Hanwen's reaction speed was astonishing. Flowing Cloud turned his head and dodged it. The sword light continued forth, but after noticing Swaxa's movements, he adjusted. Scared. Steamed Bun noticed the change in flowing clouds attacks. Delighted, Steamed Bun Invasion took the chance to counterattack. But little did he know, Lu Hanwen had intentionally left an opening. And this opening wasn't for him, but for Swaksar. Hexagram Prison. Pillars of light descended. Steamed Bun tried to dodge, but it was too late. "Let me out!" Steamed Bun cried out in the chat. His Steamed Bun Invasion had been trapped by Hexagram Prison. Having seen the situation change, Yu Wenzu decided to stop their assault on Steamed Bun Invasion. But because of the Hexagram Prison, it was as if they pressed pause on their previous offense. First stop, resolve the issues, and then continue. Boundless Sea. The invisible Boundless Sea was now a threatening presence because he had finally gotten onto the tailwind of the wind zone. And the strong winds made his chi attacks even faster. After sending out a sky-piercing cannon at Bullet Rain, Fang Rui's Boundless Sea headed towards Yu Wenzu's Swaksar. Yu Wenzu didn't panic. Swaksar moved and maintained the same angle with Boundless Sea. Fang Rui was trying for a certain angle, not just because he wanted to strengthen his attacks with the wind. More importantly, at a certain angle, Chi Masters would be suppressed by the gale. For example, if the wind and his attacks were perpendicular to each other, unless he was right next to his opponent, his Chi energy would be blown away by the wind, and he would have trouble aiming his attacks. Fang Rui probably knew this point too, but Yu Wenzu knew it better than him. Blue Rain had chosen this map, and Blue Rain also had a Chi Master. This was why Yu Wenzu dared to let Fang Rui's Chi Master loop around, and because he knew exactly how the gale helped or hindered a Chi Master. Bullet Rain was blown back. It had been too fast for Yu Wenzu to respond, but if Fang Rui wanted to target High Swaksar, then he wasn't going to let another accident happen. End chapter.